Hey everyone, and welcome to Nutty Chess Tips with me, Nutty T. Today I'm going to show you part 2 of the Scotch Gambit. If you missed part 1, it will be in the cut above, so as usual, check it out. The first moves on the table are as follows: e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, e takes d4, and bishop c4. In the last video I showed you the bishop to c5. Today I'm going to show you knight f6. There is 2 moves, either push a pawn or castle on the king side. First off, I'll show you pushing the pawn. Your opponent goes d5. We move the bishop to b5. Your opponent usually moves a knight to get out of danger of this pawn, and they move to e3. We take the pawn on d4 with the knight, and your opponent usually goes bishop d7 to break the pin. Now we usually take the knight with the bishop, and they usually take with the pawn. Now I recommend taking with the bishop instead of the knight, because if you take with the knight, you simply run into this, pawn takes, and then we are losing a tempo with the bishop, so that is not good. So after you've taken with the bishop, they take, and we simply castle. They usually go bishop c5, and we go bishop e3, protecting this knight. They usually castle, and then just f3 to kick this knight, and then when the knight moves away, we simply push the pawn again, and this saves tempos on our side. And then they move back, we simply move the knight to d2. They take, we take back with the queen, and they usually go bishop b6. Now obviously this is about equal, so we just play chess here. What I recommend here is just to castle on the queen side. Your opponent usually takes a pawn on e4. We pin the knight with the rook. They usually go d5, and instead of retreating the bishop, we take. Now you're probably wondering, oh, that's a free bishop, but no, this is not the case, because we have this lovely move, knight c3. And as you can see, if they take, we simply take the queen. So this is not good. The most common moves that you will see, a5, and in a few cases I've had d8. So first off, I'll show you the d8 line. What I tend to do here is just take the knight with the rook and give a check. Your opponent usually will go bishop e7, and we simply take the pawn on d4 with the knight. Your opponent usually takes back with the knight, and we simply take back with the rook. Eyeing up the queen. The queen can't move, so bishop b7 is usually forced. And then we go bishop f4. They usually go bishop c5 to try and kick this rook. We simply go queen e2 check. They have to move the king, king f8, and then we move the rook to d5. b6, threatening the bishop. We exchange bishops and then take the pawn. If they go queen c7, we just double up these rooks. And if your opponent goes rook e8, we have this lovely move, rook takes the bishop on d7. If your opponent takes a queen, we simply whip off their queen, and we're simply a piece up here. Let's go back. So what happens if your opponent goes queen a5? We simply take the knight with our knight Your opponent's most common move is bishop e6. Most players go knight g5, eyeballing this bishop, but I just recommend this move, bishop c2. Your opponent's queen usually goes to d5 or f5. If they go f5, now we move bishop g5. The most common moves are f6 and h6, so I'll show you these. If your opponent goes h6, we have this lovely move, queen d3. If they take the bishop, oosh, check with the knight. And as you can see, the bishop is pinned, so we are taking the queen on the next move. So let's go back. What if they go f6? Well, we have this lovely knight move, knight h4. Your opponent's queen is in danger. They usually move to d5. Still eyeing up this knight, protecting these pieces. And then we simply go kamikaze! Bishop takes on f6. And if they take, we have this lovely move, boom. And as you can see, you're forking the king and the queen. So let's go back. So one more tricky line that could go in your favour here. If your opponent goes bishop e7. Now here we simply go bishop g5. Eyeing up this bishop. The best move for black to do here is castle. But if your opponent thinks take on g5, we have this lovely move. We leave the bishop alone and we go boom, knight d6. And as you can see, we're forking the king as well as this pawn. The best move for the king here is actually d7, and then we simply take the pawn. But if your opponent goes king f8, we have this lovely move. Oosh! Checkmate. So if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Check the other videos, and it's nice.